Good afternoon, and welcome to the weekly Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms live stream. My name is Dylan. You may have seen me here before. So, what's going on today? Well, first, I'm going to thank D&D, or at least the D&D team, for hosting us here at twitch.tv/D&D, for everything they do to support and build the D&D game and the community and, like, this channel, and they just do a lot of kick-ass stuff. So, yes, thank you guys. You're awesome. Then I'm going to turn this music down because it seemed not too loud a second ago, but now it seems too loud. So I'm going to do that. That's better. Yeah, now I can hear myself think, kind of. So we're going to do a bit of a different show today. I mean, I know I say that a lot, but today for our agenda, we'll be bringing in Kat, also known as the Art Monkey on Twitter and Instagram, to talk about art and drawing her first champion for the game, Wolfgar, son of Beor Nagar. So that'll go on in about an hour. But until then, we'll go over the things discussed during yesterday's Q&A on the subreddit, because there's a lot of stuff that we cover, and it's nice to reiterate a lot of those things and talk about it. And then also, you know, if you have questions, I'm here. I'm here to answer your questions. So I'm just going to switch over to the game tab so that you have something to look at other than my face. And we'll just let this run. This is my party idling away at 272. Actually, if anybody has a suggestion for where I should go instead, what adventure would you like to have me doing? I think I've completed pretty much everything, but yeah, let's... Viewer's choice. What would you like to have me doing while we talk? Now, the subreddit Q&A. I know you guys can hear my mouse lifting and hitting the floor. It's the desk, just because we have the tablet set up here now. So I have like this tiny little space that the mouse is moving in. So I have to keep lifting it up and down. But what would you guys like to cover while I pull up this Reddit thing and while I choose a new adventure? Yeah. Whatever adventure you like. I'll wait a few minutes and see what the general consensus is. In the meantime, let's talk about this subreddit Q&A, because there were a lot of questions. I didn't get to everything. And certainly there were probably some answers that deserve a little bit more context, just because our reasoning behind a lot of our decisions isn't always obvious. And sometimes can lead to a bit of unintended friction. You know, we're a small company. I know I talk about that a lot, and it certainly has a significant impact on how we approach our content creation. But also, you know, we try to do things as player focused as possible. So I know that it regularly comes up that players may be worried about. You know, if we're going to do some significant change to a particular aspect of the game, like will they get, you know, will they be compensated because they put all their blacksmith contracts into a champion that may have been nerfed or something along those lines? And like, of course, you know, our intent is to do things with player focused in mind. With, you know, just like when we did with the chests and potions update back in February, when you know, when we made a significant overhaul to our chest system, we gave away a lot of potions of polish and a lot of to a lot of players who suddenly were able to completely deck out their parties. So, you know, just keep that in mind. So what's going on? Bright Swords is currently running. Perhaps I should load that up. That would be the smart thing to do. I'm just going to have a quick scroll through here and see if there's a... Do Bright Swords with full companions? Full companion Bright Swords. Okay. No, Rick, cool. This is not the new streaming machine. That has been built, but not all the software is installed on it yet. And so there'll be... I have at least a day or two of installation and troubleshooting once that's ready. All right, Bright Swords. Companions Bright Swords. I mean, I gotta swap out Deacon. But he's my boy. I'll just click this way. Alright. Where are they again? Regis is here. And Tryst, Wolfgar. Bum, 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 bum. I'm trying to remember where everybody is. No. No. There we go. There's Category. I don't know how strong this formation will end up being. I guess since there's no true tank, I might as well. Yeah. Cool. All right. This should be an interesting party to see how it gets going. All right. How many hit points you got? What? Like me personally? I don't know. All right, Blubberton. Question: now that the clicking can damage segmented armored health, was the targeting for familiars also updated to no longer ignore them? Is it smart enough to only hit the one time every 5 seconds? That's a great question that I don't have an answer to, and I don't even know if there's anybody in the office who can answer it right now because Justin is away for the next week getting married. Dave is working from home and also helping to get ready for Justin's wedding. Mark is sick and working from home. Peter is very crazy busy, as one would expect, as one of the only devs currently in. Jacob is working through a massive list of fixes. And maybe Chris can get me that answer. Again, I'll poke about the lack of evil champions. When will we see some? You know, that's an interesting thing to mention. It's not that we try to ignore them so much as, you know, a lot of the characters we get the sheets provided for us. I know there is a bit of a discrepancy that some people have noticed in the fact that our Jarlaxle in-game is neutral evil, but that is not his alignment in the Dragon Heist book, and that's actually because we have a slightly different version of Jarlaxle that we're using. Yeah, it's so a lot of our alignments are determined by whichever character sheet that Wizards of the Coast gives us for characters. So, you know, that often means... Swap to Wolfgar for when he's ready. That often means that we end up with characters who are... pretty much everybody's good, because we tend to get protagonist characters. We don't add a lot of evil characters, although there's some really notable good evil ones that we haven't added. Jarlaxle and Dragon Heist, I want to say he's chaotic neutral or something like that. Like he's not evil. Yeah, it's just he's just got a different alignment for that version of Jarlaxle in the book. I mean, he, not to spoil this for anybody because it's a little unfair, but if you don't know anything about the Dragon Heist book and you'd like to keep it that way, cover your ears for a couple seconds. Like, I don't know, maybe count to 5. But Jarlaxle is one of the 4 main antagonists in the book. And so because of that, he kind of needed to be set up in such a way to do that, but also to be the, you know, the one who is known and loved from, you know, the many novels he's made appearances in and such. So, yeah. All right. So... oh, how many high rollers points do I have, Drow Fighter? Almost none. I haven't really been playing that event. Yeah, let me check. It's low. Yeah. Ooh, my points so far, 114. Oh, I guess I can claim some awards. Yeah, I have not been paying attention to it. Time gate piece. That's it. Yeah. I know that we were kind of vetoed on internally. There are some of us who wanted to share the full list of rewards through the high rollers thing, and then there were people who have more authority who decided otherwise, and which is why we haven't shared it. But I can say that the most unique gift, the most unique reward, is the shiny, the golden epic equipment card for Minsk. So if you... Everything else is very much geared towards newer players. Not to say that it doesn't have value to players who've been around for a while, because there are a lot of items involved and they're good. There's contracts and other things, but yeah, the final one, while awesome, isn't something that just cannot be missed by our most veteran players. But everybody else, other than our most veteran players, will see a lot of value in that if they grind towards it. Like, it is worthwhile. I know that's vague. It's the best I can do without saying outright what it is. But I'll say that it is a quantity of something, and it is more than one of them. Yeah, it's a good reward. Jeez, am I still not got a Wolfgar yet? How much favor do I have? All right. We have been spoiled lately by giveaways. I agree. What are your plans to support the lifestyle to which we have become accustomed? I'm glad you asked that, Artifexy. So here's what our plan is. We will be approaching year 2 streams soon with the Idle Champions weekly stream, because we started in October last year, and we're in year 2 of the game's life cycle. You know, Bright Swords is our final year 1 event, and then after that we start repeating events again with Hard Harvestide. And while we've only done this would be the 44th or 45th episode of this show. I think I made a note about it at the top of mine. What number is it? Episode 45. So this is the 45th live stream we've done. We are going to do some updates. I've actually been working on them the last couple days, along with getting the new streaming machine built and set up and everything installed on it. Like the overlay, like what you can see beneath my name right here and over on the other side, where it says the weekly stream code. This is all going to change. The one that we're working on looks a lot better. And, you know, it kind of speaks to the fact that a lot of the stuff that we did for this was a little bit more thrown together than we had intended. But also, as part of that, the reason I'm mentioning it is because I don't mind announcing this a little bit in advance, but what we're planning to do with our giveaways is have the winner of the raffle be the beneficiary of an on-screen dice roll. So I don't know yet if that's going to be a camera pointed directly at a dice so you can see it in real time, or how we're going to do it. But basically, we're going to have a D20 set to a prize list. And we'll include everything from, you know, some in-game stuff to, you know, swag to shirts, that kind of thing. And so that when somebody wins, we will roll and they will actually get something. We'll see how lucky it is, but yeah, that's kind of the idea, is that you would roll a D20 and you would get something based on that, just to be a little bit more D&D like, yeah, with a prize pool that you get to work from. I'm just going to add Wolfgar to the group now. Alrighty, and then because I'm lazy, how about a black cat, armored juniper for Dritz because that fits his personality. Dragon for Caddy Bree. Fairy Dragon for Regis. Chewinga for Bruner. A head. Actually, I'll get to these upgrades now so that I can rally, of course. Melee. So that the choices are made so these characters can just level away and just keep going, and we'll see how far they can get. It'll level them automatically, and I won't have to pay attention to it. Anyway, so yeah, we plan to do something fun and unique so that people get to roll their D20, or I guess we would be rolling it for you in order to determine what your prize is from a list of pretty cool stuff. So yeah, I mean, we might even add something to that list, like if you roll a nat 20, you get to pick one of the other 19 prizes or 18 prizes or whatever it ends up being. We won't have a critical fail in a 1, though. Like, maybe that'll be just like a plain gold chest is what you get or something. I don't know. But yeah, we'll include DLC and other things on there, and the options to choose so that the prize is a little bit more fun. So that's the plan. We just haven't got to the point yet where we're doing that. Okay, next question. Hasty Tadpole. Seems gold chests drop blue and purple a lot less for me. Is the last week or two because I'm getting more geared, or is it an adjustment made? Nothing has changed. We have the last announced chests change. We've done 2 this year. We did the chest and potions update in February, which was a significant overhaul to our chest drop system. And then we issued a fix, a much requested but then later maligned fix to the shiny equipment drop rate to make it more consistent, which had the negative effect of your first one will not come as quickly as later ones. But yeah, if you haven't noticed getting enough rares or purples, then you're just it's perception. Nothing has changed. Baron Stromgard, is there a D&D theme to Justin's wedding? Will guests need to roll on the random counter table to determine if they make it to the reception? As far as I know, there is no D&D theme for the wedding. And considering the family that Justin is marrying into, I feel like messing with them would be risking his own fate. They're a race of giant people who could destroy him. But no, I'm sure it'll just be a regular old multi-day beautiful wedding. I hope it goes really great for them. Lisa, was it intended to set the 50 drow boss to 50 HP armor? I believe that the 50 hit points / armor is the basic level that we have all the bosses set to. I mean, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding was that that was the kind of like the basic choice that we always run with. Royal Gentleman, have you ever run Tyranny of Dragons in 5th edition? How would you rate it? I haven't run it. It's not one of the campaigns I've done. Given my foray into 5th edition only started like midway through last year. My friends were like, play Curse of Strahd. They're like, Out of the Abyss is good, but like it can be kind of exhausting being in the Underdark all the time. Tomb of Annihilation is awesome, but the tomb itself is merciless and could easily TPK you. I ran a party. I was running a Dragon Heist for some friends and family this past weekend for 15 hours, and it's amazing. So if anybody was hesitating about playing Dragon Heist or getting that book, don't. It's awesome, and I could say that without being somebody who's actually getting paid by Wizards of the Coast to promote it. Like it's great. It might be the best introduction book to a D&D module. It's just, yeah, it's great. Anyways, no, Royal Gentleman, I haven't run Tyranny of Dragons. Next question. Will Jarlaxle be getting an update to reflect the Dragon Heist sheet? Probably not. Spoilers again, cover your ears for the next 5 seconds, but Jarlaxle is like a CR 15 or something in the Dragon Heist book, with stats and equipment and legendaries, like gear to match. And we're at this time we're not planning to update the Jarlaxle that we have in the game to match that. Tazosaurus, how do you unlock Tryst? So Tryst was like the first extra evergreen character added to the game, like that you had to unlock, because like Hitch you could get by signing up for the newsletter, but Tryst you had to progress through the Grand Tour of the Sword Coast campaign far enough along that you've made it to Waterdeep, and then there was a challenging at the time variant to complete, where a useless Tryst is in the party doing nothing, and yeah, it's for the average player who doesn't know or understand the game very well, who's playing for free, it'll take you like a good month to get to the point where you have enough favor and blessings and stuff to push through and complete that variant. But since that variant came out, we've released a lot of champions, including some that offer some pretty extraordinarily powerful combinations. I suspect that variant is a lot easier to do now. Sazao, is there a date for when High Rollers ends? I've lost count. I believe this season of High Rollers, them doing Dragon Heist, is 12 episodes. So it's a 12-week event. I'm actually not sure which week we're on right now. Are we on week 3, I think? 3, maybe 4? Who is in the weekend buff? Oh, that's a good question, Baron Stromgard. Hold on a second. Bum, 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 bum. Let's see. There are two core champions, 1 evergreen champion, and 2 event champions in this weekend's coming buff. With a golden equipment card for one of our event champions. That's the spoiler I'll give. I know that's vague, but yeah. Dylan, hi. Does speeding along Tier 4 Celeborn affect Barrowin in any way positively, or is it not good for him? First of all, Barrowin's a her. Second of all, if you are someone who does Barrowin stacking regularly to progress through things, the speed potions will make it really challenging for you. So yeah, I have done it because I like when I do Barrow and stacking, it tends to be with Strix, and I use Strix's hide upgrade so that her attack cooldown is longer, and so she will often get a double stack before attacking, and that will idle to my wall, closer to my wall than pretty much any other single combination will. But once you get into Barrow and stacking, yeah, you get so much further. So speed potions are not great for that, but yeah. Zapman28. Can Binwin plays give away Binwin chests? Binwin plays could potentially give away all kinds of things. Locknor. Why did the gold and silver chests get the same shiny odds? Aren't silvers already better for levels? So this is kind of an ongoing debate that's been going on between, actually, not just between us and our players, but just players in general. It makes it so that silver chests, like if the only thing that you need are shinies at this point, you've got epics on everything, then silver chests actually end up being slightly better for increasing the item scores for your items, and better odds for getting a shiny equipment card, because the odds are based on per chest instead of per equipment drop now. So that's why. It's just it's more likely to get shinies if you're doing it that way. Now before, because gold chests were guaranteed to have higher chances of shiny equipment cards, it was still not quite as good. Yeah. Tanker641. Is this game possible to actually get far in as free to play? Of course. Yeah. I'm not going to get into the whole pay to win, free to play, etc. debate. I can just simply answer Tanker641 with the fact that a number of our most prominent and successful free-to-play players have completed everything that's in the game to date. So, yeah, you can do everything, but it does require, it requires a fair amount of patience to do things that way. Starting the game is slow. You need your equipment first. You need to be able to start building up favors so you can progress through objectives and earn more favor and buy blessings and so on. So yeah, you totally can complete everything as free-to-play. But it's hard. The biggest objective would be, completing Azaka's Procession Part 2, which has more to do with having the right party makeup and having all the blessings and everything. So, yeah. Everybody's so focused on Azaka Part 2. Which free-to-play player? I'm not. I don't look at people's accounts. But, yeah. Anyways, Cassius335. With the recent change to allow familiars to hit armored enemies, is there a danger that familiars do too much of the work? I don't think so. I think it was a positive quality of life change for familiars that made them more relevant. So, yeah. We want familiars to have value. I mean, there were a lot of players who were, didn't think that they were worth it. So, yeah. Now, Silisa, I don't believe, is a paid player, but may have some DLC. Silisa's completed Azaka's Procession Part 2. I'm trying to think of who else has actually talked about completing it and is actually free to play. You'd have to ask in the Discord. Are there any new costumes coming? New skins. We have at least one skin in development. Tazosaurus. Hey Dylan, have you seen or keep up with Critical Role by chance? As one of the few really popular D&D live shows around. So I mean, first things first, I would say that a lot of D&D shows are actually really popular. It's just Critical Role is a straight up phenomenon in a way that other D&D shows haven't managed to be. Acquisitions Incorporated has been around for like 11, 12 years, something like 13 years. It's been around for... No, yeah, 11 years, I think it was what Chris Perkins said at the at PAX West. Critical Role's nowhere near that old, but Critical Role is like a perfect storm of talent and timing and platform in order to be a massive phenomenon. It's astounding how popular they are, and all the more power to them. They're a remarkable group of creatives who do deserve it. But there are a ton of great popular D&D shows. you know, a few that we like, you know, our Acquisitions Incorporated, Dice Camera Action. Dungeon Drunks is a great podcast. Adventure Zone is a great podcast. Force Grey is fun when they do it, but we only kind of have like, we have that short season of Giant Hunters and that longer season of Tomb of Annihilation and that nothing for Dragon Heist. Come on, guys. Where's our Dragon Heist Force Grey? I'm sure that's entirely based around scheduling, actually, and less than a desire. Garwar talked about Critical Error. I haven't, or Clerical Error. I haven't watched Clerical Error yet. That's Lauren's new show. I want to say they're on episode 2 this week, maybe 3. But yeah, there's a ton of good shows. Anyways, have I seen or do I keep up with Critical Role? Yes, I am up to date on the current season of Critical Role. And it's good. I mean, I don't always have time to watch it live. I tend to listen to it while I'm working a lot of the time. Tea Time with Toby. Would it be possible to get an estimate of DPS change before moving the formation around? No, I mean, not to get into the ridiculous math around calculating all that stuff in real time. And like, yes, we are updating the way that the formation DPS counter is calculated to make it more accurate as part of the offline gold gain update. But like dragging Bruner around and having it change what your DPS is in advance or something, it's like, no, that's probably not a feature that's going to happen. Grade C Gamer, would it be possible to get the mortal enemy of Kelemvor, Midnight, Cyric, and Adon as champions eventually? I'm not going to say that it's impossible for any lore-based characters to be added to the game. What I will say is that, how to phrase this? Like, because we don't talk too much about characters that are coming in advance, aside from like, you know, the 3 or 4 that people do know about currently that are in development. Yeah, I mean, all lore-based characters are possible. We do coordinate with Wizards of the Coast, the D&D team, in regards to which champions we add at which time. Like, it's an approval process that they have to go through. So like they may have reservations about different characters, either due to their obscurity relatively, as far as things go, or you know, maybe they haven't been updated for 5e and they want to avoid them at least for a time. So, oh, excuse me, yeah, all lore-based characters are possible, but some are much more likely than others. Why isn't the time gate pieces cooldown global like the actual time gate? This cooldown has made this game a lot more stressful than it used to be. I'm not sure I understand what's being stressful. Time gates come in between events, which means that at the end of next week there will be another one naturally occurring. And then the pieces allow you to open your own at a different time. I mean, I'm not sure what else there needs to be to that. I'm sorry if that's stressful, though. I hope it's not stressful. Junior roll. It would be helpful to have the end date for the High Rollers event in the description so we know how much longer we have to get. That's a great point. I'm going to make a note of that. And then hopefully Chris will address it. I'm just going to need another tab open. Let's see. Aggie Bear, is there a map of all the encounters? I'm not sure what you mean, Aggie Bear. Let's see. Mighty Moyan, can you remove your starting party members after you add them? Yeah, you can just drag them back to the bench. Like, if I don't like Caddy Bree, plunk, there she goes. So you can always drag characters back to the bench if you wish. Will click damage ever get items? I don't know. So our thoughts on click damage and our approach to it have changed since I started working with Codename. You know, everybody's probably pretty aware that like just basic click damage without fire breath potions of any kind tend to fall off in terms of it falls off in terms of effectiveness by like level 70 to 80 or area 70 to 80 in most cases. But at the same time, you know, we've added fire breath potions. We originally had those horrifically overpowered ones that did percentage-based damage, but now we have other fire breath potions that do damage based on party DPS, which makes clicking much more viable for much longer. And so, you know, that marks a bit of a shift in our mindset, especially if you use familiars already, because you can put up to 6 familiars down, and if you're using an epic fire breath potion that's going to last until the end of the adventure, there's a good chance you'll be able to push your wall, unless you're barrel and stacking. So I'm not going to say that click damage will never get items, because we've already changed our minds quite a bit about it. But it's not something that we're looking at exploring right now. We have other ideas in mind in terms of content progression. I should just be vague about my final answer, just because I don't want to unintentionally spoil anything. Drow Fighter, where can I see the changelog? Oh yeah, it's just down here. You got your chat, your news, changelog. Boom. And it goes back a ways. If you're looking for an archive of the changelog, though, there is a wikia. There's both a wiki and a wikia of Idle Champions, but I think the wikia is the one that Clement and Master of Speed and Quick Mithril work on. I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong in chat, guys, because it's easy for me to get that one letter mixed up. Yeah, there's an archive of the changelogs as well. Belden, I did notice that it's far easier to get more Kellenbor's favor than others. Even in the conversion of the favor for the event, you get more Kellenbor favor than other for about the same amount of favor. Is that intended? Well, I mean, it's percentage based. So, I mean, without looking at your account, the amount of event divine favor that you've generated will create the same percentage increase of your other ones. So unless your other campaign favors are exactly the same, because the event favor conversion is what should we call it? It's based on a percentage. It's going to vary from campaign to campaign unless you somehow have exact same numbers. So I'm right now at a 134.55% boost to my favor of a deity. That's a lot, more than doubling, nearly 1.5 times increase. So yeah, I get a crazy amount of favor for each one, but they're not the same. It doesn't mean that there's a different percentage in the calculation. However, time gate event favor, Mistress favor, is a smaller percentage for the conversion. Yeah. Let's see. Royal Gentleman, any progress on the system that keeps the bench characters busy? Any spoilers? I don't have any spoilers for that. I can say that that's not something that we're pushing to complete as quickly as the tanking and healing and the champion balance are the highest priority big items right now. More so than things like, and this isn't a confirmation that we're doing these things, but things like daily, weekly missions or other progression aspects of the game, ways to use bench characters differently, etc. Those things are not things that we are focused on right now. Above the champion balance and the tanking and healing update are just such. They're both needed and significant. So that's kind of where our energy is going right now. And we actually hope to be at a point in the next couple weeks where we can start soliciting individual champion feedback from the community about each champion, so that we can get that feedback and add it to what we're already kind of working on, and so that the balancing goes even better. I mean, we have a lot of the raw data and the numbers on our end already, and some pretty good thoughts about how things go. But at the end of the day, I mean, there are tens of thousands of people who play this game, and your feedback matters, and we want to get some of your input on that as well. So, yeah, that was a bit of a rabbit hole I went down, Royal Gentleman, but I hope that gives you a better idea. Arctic's Gamer, is it possible to say any characters that can't be added as of now? What I will say is that we have quite a few champions in development. Some are based on lore characters. On the subreddit Q&A, I've reiterated over the last couple weeks a few of them that have been announced already, including Valanya Umvarar. And I know I don't say that as nicely as Satine does, but Satine's character from Sirens of the Realms, Paulton Seppa, Nate Sharp's character from Dice Camera Action, and Neris Cathan from the Baldur's Gate comics are all in development. I can also say that none of those 3 are the next champion coming to the game. And that, you know, some characters are easier to add to the game than others. If, first of all, first and foremost, like, we have a list of characters that we, you know, have like free reign to approach at any time from Wizards, that, you know, come from, you know, from what they already own, just in terms of like the Forgotten Realms novels, stuff that's been produced, other video games even. So we have a pretty decent list of characters that we can turn into champions from them. And they do want us to focus specifically on the Forgotten Realms, because this is Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms, not the Idle Champions of Greyhawk, Krynn, or any other, you know, tangentially tied to the D&D multiverse realm. Which is why we haven't, you know, done any Warforged. I was pushing hard for Warforged skins for everybody in the game, like just a Warforged skin pack, but I got shut down. Anyways, so, you know, the more specific to Forgotten Realms, and the more relevant to 5e, and the more recent the character, the more likely they could make an appearance. You know, there are a lot of really awesome characters that have been created over the decades since the Forgotten Realms was invented, but some of them are kind of obscure, some of them are a little older, and, you know, would be harder for audiences outside some very specific groups of people to connect with, and so they're more likely. Like, there's a reason that we have this version of the Companions of the Hall in the game, and it's because they are the most known, you know, version of the Companions of the Hall. And, like, yes, spoiler for old novels, but like some of them have died and come back as, you know, the same character but different. And we did these versions specifically because they're the ones that people know. Now, what makes characters less likely to be added are, first of all, any character that Wizards of the Coast and Dungeons & Dragons doesn't already own makes that character more of a challenge in a variety of ways to be added to the game. Both because we have to come up with a licensing agreement with the IP holder. In this case, like the, you know, like Holly owns Strix. Strix is Holly's character. So we had to make, you know, it took us a while to get to the point where we were able to put together a contract and be able to have a license agreement that worked with Holly Conrad, with Wizards and D&D, and with us at Codename Entertainment and Idle Champions. So that stuff takes time. We are working on those relationships, and we have relationships with a number of people. We have other characters who may or may not be making appearances, but I can't spoil any of that. So, yeah, I know that doesn't directly answer your question, Artix Gamer, but I hope that helps give some context on how we do that. Let's see. How responsive is your relationship with Wizards of the Coast? Do they respond quickly and collaboratively, or is it more distant and remote? They are extraordinarily quick and collaborative, especially given the sheer number of licensees that they work with. We're a licensee, which is to say that we are working on an officially licensed Dungeons & Dragons related product, but we're a digital licensee because we make a digital game, just like Beamdog or BCom Studios, or, you know, Cryptic Studios, who do Neverwinter. So we talk to them every week. We do calls with them, but then we also are in regular email and possible phone communication, depending on how things are going. There is a process that all assets related to all D&D licensee games have to go through in order to get approval by Wizards, because nothing will hit the game without them saying it's okay before it does so. So the nature of that requires that they be very responsive with us, because we put out a lot of content. So they need to see it all and say yay or nay, or what needs to be changed. And the vast majority of cases, they don't have suggestions for us anymore, because we're pretty in tune with how things are supposed to look and be accurate. But yeah, there are times when it's like, actually, this character's ears need to change slightly, or this color needs to change on this character, or what have you. So they are extremely collaborative and extremely responsive, and it really is fun to work with them. I know sometimes I'll get this like 1,000-yard stare when I talk about what it's like to work with them, and it's not because they're tiring. It's because like they're every bit as passionate and detail-oriented as we are, and that requires energy. But it's also the best thing about working with them is, I mean, D&D is in good hands. They really give a shit. Like, they really, really care. And it's evident every time you meet anybody who works there. Like, they love what they're doing and they love the product. And so, yeah, like they're very, very busy. They, we keep them busy, and yeah, they're awesome. Blink 7 times if Wizards is holding you hostage. No, they're really not. They really are that freaking awesome. I haven't met anybody from Wizards that I didn't think was totally awesome when I met them, up to and including. I mean, I haven't had conversations with quite a few people, but I've met quite a few members of their team. Let's see. Okay. Year 2 incoming. Are we going to have 2 kinds of tokens simultaneously, or only a single to spend on 2 events? I'm going to have Chris on in a week or 2 before we have our first Year 2 event to talk about what we're doing. That'll probably actually be next week's stream. And this is me telling Chris over the stream right now that that's what's going to happen, because the week after that we already have our guest lined up. But so the September 27th stream, which will be the day before my Codename Entertainment Cake Day, and also the first day of using our new streaming machine, of doing our new aesthetic and setup and all that stuff, doing a few other things differently. We will also talk about Year 2 events, because yeah, I don't have enough finalized information about what the Year 2 events are to say whether or not say something definitively. So I'm just gonna push it off to next week. So I don't mean to push off your question, Soul Reaver PL, but yeah, that'll have to wait until Chris is actually here with me. Royal Gentleman, how about artifacts that need to be built from different sources? Once built, to give the extra passives or active abilities. I like that suggestion, and we've talked about things like that before. There are some pretty awesome MacGuffins in the Forgotten Realms, things worthy of questing and adventuring to unlock or get, and there have to be some cool ways for us to integrate that in the game. But we're still pretty focused on, like, there's some balancing we need to do. The tanking and healing change is a very needed change that is going to be make for a significant impact. And then now that we are going into Year 2 events, and events will in theory take up fewer resources, barring Chris doing anything too radical. We're more able to put resources towards these bigger projects that they need to get done. Yeah. So please, thank you all for your patience in waiting for things like those champion balancing updates. I know we've been talking about them for a long time, and huge parts of the work are being done. But like, as someone pointed out, we're at 32 champions, and we add one every few weeks. And that's just with events. Never mind when we add more evergreen characters, like Azaka. So, and the next one that's coming, because we have another one coming, I believe this year. They should be ready for the game. So there'll be another evergreen added. We are getting to these things. We're just yeah, it's a challenging juggling act that Chris, Justin, Dave, and Eric have in terms of choosing where to direct the resources and what we're building at any given point. Talking about costumes, would we ever get a Construct Evelyn? That would be so cool to see. I agree. That would be awesome. And obviously, man, I don't like spoiling dice camera action for people, because the show has such an emotional weight to it. But I feel like it's kind of okay to talk about the fact that Evelyn has both, being and not being a construct at different times. So Construct Evelyn would make for the pretty ideal kind of skin, I think. But then, like, wouldn't it also be cool to have Evelyn of Shar in the game? Like, that'd be sweet. Alrighty, which one of these am I doing? I'm not going to pick an upgrade for Wolfgar until I get the suggestion from everybody. I know I picked the other ones already, but which Wolfgar am I making? Let me know. Okay. Statement. The stress is due to the lag behind if your RNG is bad enough that you can quickly grow a 3-week behind others in your manual gate count. What? I'm not sure what you mean by that, Giant Dwarf. I mean, first of all, like, it's a single-player game. You're not behind anybody. There's content always coming out. There's always more things to do, but you don't fall behind. So, I mean, if you're measuring yourself against what other players have accomplished, I guess you could make that argument, but it's like how you choose to play the game is pretty individualized, I think, at this point. So I'm not sure how you're playing against yourself. So I'm not sure I get that giant dwarf. Maybe you could give me a little bit more context at some point. Unky Mucus. How we change to different characters in our party. Will you ever do a thing where we can change click damage or how click damage looks? That's a really interesting idea. I remember talking about at one point, like, different elemental damage types for click damage or what have you. And, like, I'm not saying that those things won't happen, but there are definitely some really serious balancing concerns around that kind of thing. Like, let's say, this is completely hypothetical and definitely not something that's being worked on for the game, and I'm not lying or making that up. It's just, this isn't something that's happening. We're getting into the realm of the hypothetical for a moment here. If click damage was based on elements, and you had like fire damage that maybe lit enemies on fire, so you'd click and then they'd take continuing click damage briefly, and like ice damage that would slow them down and possibly freeze them if they get clicked enough, acid damage that would, whatever, that would like, disintegrate their armor, so whatever. Like, if we did something like that, it would have massive balancing ramifications. So, I'm not saying click damage can't and won't change, but like, it would be a significant alteration to the way the game plays if we did anything to it. So it's not something that we're looking at right now. We're much more focused on balancing. Could we see somebody asking hypotheticals about different characters you could potentially see. As I was iterating earlier, all characters are technically possible, but some of them are much easier and much more likely to happen. Let's see. Out of the characters released so far, which individual character mechanics are your favorites? That's a good question. I'm not a fan of the categorically much stronger or overpowered characters like Barrowan, just because it forces you to have to play that way. And like I personally, as Dylan, think that Barrowan needs to be either nerfed down to 2 stacks or something needs to be done so that her buff isn't so dramatically better than anything else that you can accomplish. Because I like the idea of rewarding players for stacking and stuff like that, but I don't like that it becomes so important that it's the only way for a lot of players to progress to a certain point. Now, I think that my favorite character mechanically would be either Ishii or Azaka Stormfang. Now, Azaka does this awesome thing where she transforms into a were-tiger after a set number of attacks, and then her damage goes way up, and then after she transforms back, her gold find goes way up, and like I like the synergies, I like the way the character plays. She could stand to be a little bit more powerful because she was initially broken overpowered, and then we issued fixes, and now she's not quite as powerful, and she'll probably need to be looked at in our update, but I think Azaka's kit is really cool and a lot of fun. Wolfgar's kit is really cool and a lot of fun too, but relying on the other 4 members of the Companions of the Hall for your synergies, it's kind of like there's some other issues that have crept up because of that. But Ishii is such a fantastic standalone champion for so many reasons. There's all kinds of synergies, like using Ishii and Ishii's ults with Birdsong and Birdsong's ult, and like just like rattling off machine gun hits and just doing tons of damage. The way that Ishii's gold find works, like I think in terms of just like a balanced kit that does really cool things, is fun for players of a variety of progressions in terms of how far they've made it in the game. I think Ishii is, I think Ishii's my favorite so far. Candyman, is the current plan to have just 1 evergreen champion per campaign, or will that number increase? It is fun trying to unlock them. It will increase. Baron Stromguard. What is the class of the next champion? Oh. I don't know that we're ready to start talking about that yet. Tell you what, if Chris says it's okay, I will spoil the class of the next champion, and I will wait for Chris's response. Paxem, will the repeat events have new champions in addition to the previous ones? Yes, they will. Grade C Gamer, will Idle Champions pair up with an Adventure League to create an unlockable cert? Um, uh, probably not. So the Adventurers League, it's like it's not something that's directly controlled or operated by wizards, and there was some stuff around how all that played out, and so I don't know that we could. Yeah, I don't know that we could. We have talked internally about doing stuff with the Adventurers League, but I mean, it's one of those time things, right? Like, we haven't even finished some of our our balancing updates and stuff like that, and so yeah, I don't know. I like how everybody's answering for Chris. I have a chat window on this window where I can see if he's answered, and he hasn't. But yeah, that would be cool. Like, God, there's so many awesome people and groups and organizations tied to the D&D community that we would love to do either some work with, any work with, or more work with, because we love the people we've worked with as well. So, yeah. Fearnack, an evergreen champion refers to a champion that you unlock in the game, but becomes a part of your core roster of champions or your core roster, and gold chests give the equipment for them as well. Let's see. How many of year 2 events are you planning to do double champions? I imagine all of them will have a second champion to unlock. There's a possibility that an event might have more than one champion to unlock, but it doesn't look like that's something that we're planning to do right now. Don't hold me to that, because that can change. I mean, we haven't even got our first year 2 event out yet. Arson 1. Sorry if this has been asked before, but will idle champions come to the iPhone or just iPads? Just iPad and tablet for Android at this time. We have some pretty large concerns around just screen size on mobile devices and trying to find ways to do a UI for it, because there's just so much information in our UI already that, like, doing that on a phone, we're not really even sure how that would be possible. And they're also phones vary so wildly technically that it's much more difficult to support. Whereas, like, even just adding iPad functionality, like so that there was an iPad version of the game, like, that was a lot of work that Peter did. And like, we had to eBay specific models of iPads so we could get like all the different versions. So that we could test on all platforms and isolate and fix bugs. And like, I couldn't imagine the development challenge that doing a mobile version would be, or a phone version, I should say, instead of mobile. So it's not something that we're planning to do. It's not because we don't like phone gamers, but yeah, it's just not necessarily somewhere where we want to put our energy. Cursed. With the first second tier event coming up, is the new character going to be a bit harder to get, or will the level to get the characters change? We'll go over that when Chris is available next week. Crab Kalash, are we going to see Dice Camera Action take advantage of the affiliation system like the Companions did? Any hint what the next official group is going to get an affiliation in Idle Champions? Ooh. So I do know those things, and we want to reward people for having with affiliation synergies. Like the Companions of the Hall was a pretty important one, and it's kind of fallen more flat than we intended, and we're going to be taking a look at that. But our worry would be that, like, you can only use groups, so it's like, oh, gotta have all Force Grey, or gotta have all Companions, or gotta have all... I'm just going to increase Wolfgar's damage, by the way, because I realized I'd forgotten about it, but, like, more damage. Smash the things. It's Wolfgar. Boom. So yeah, like, we like the idea of synergies, but we definitely worry a lot about them because, yes, there are characters, like, never mind the ones we've created, there are characters that don't have a group affiliation, but also we don't want players to feel like they have to use specific groups of champions. Like, we want them to have more freedom. So it's a tricky balance. I have personally been pushing for more affiliation-based things, but maybe we have to take another look at it and do it a different way so that it's not specifically tied to how you progress. Maybe affiliations do something else. Any discussion of going to a 64-bit client? That's a great question for Dave and Justin, who are not here. Yeah. Any discussion about it? Not that I'm aware of, but that kind of thing would not be discussed with me. Baron Stromgard. Tier 5 blessings for Tomb and Tour on the roadmap yet. What about Tier 2 to Tier 4 for Helm? you know, I gotta admit, I'm with Erica on this one in the sense that a little surprised that this question hasn't come up yet. They are not on the roadmap for a reason. We haven't decided on a cadence of how we want to do those, or even necessarily how frequently we want to do the champion level upgrades, because we really do want to get to this tanking and healing update. Like it's a big thing. Yeah. No. Sorry, I'm talking to Chris now about whether or not I can spoil anything. So far, his answer is no. Maybe he'll change his mind. Anyways, yeah, we really want to get the tanking and healing and the champion balance updates out. Like, that is hugely important to us. Yeah. Oh, he said yes. Okay, so yes, the next champion, the one that's coming out in a few weeks, is a warlock. All right, next question. Are any other male characters that can heal coming out? Tyrell is pretty lonely compared to the roster of female healers. I agree. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I'm thinking about our current roster, and I'm not sure about who's coming in the immediate future, who would be healing. And, like, the healing itself in the game is going to change. Like, the very nature of it is going to change. You'll notice, like, everybody will notice that it doesn't scale in the way that, you know, really has a positive impact on gameplay. So, will we have more male healers? Yes. Do we have them soon? No. And, like, yeah, that's definitely something that I'm going to make a note, oh, excuse me, for Chris about, just because it's just another consideration that we need to have when we're looking at our champions to add, and I'm not sure. Davey Delight, do you have any tips for newer players like myself? Yeah, join the official Discord. Oh, excuse me. Join the official Discord, discord.gg/idlechampions, and Archimedes, who's one of our community leaders who hasn't really been available in the last couple months, and like may not be available again, but he put a lot of work into building new player resources in a new player's channel, and that's a great place to start. Not all of it's up to date because he hasn't been around much lately, but there's a really good FAQ that the community put together, as well as a number of guides, including things about formations. So, yeah, that would be my recommendation, Davey. And then the other thing is get used to the idea of resetting. Players who are not huge into clicker games, or who perhaps this is your first ever idle game, the idea of completing your adventure, resetting everything, and starting again with a bonus to your next adventure isn't the most intuitive thing. Like, it can even feel kind of counterintuitive if this is not a game you've ever played before. Get used to the idea of pushing as far as you can until your progression slows to a standstill, and then completing your adventure, earning more divine favor and gold find, and then starting again because you can get a little bit further every time. It'll take you a while before you have enough favor that you hit the level cap on your characters. And once you start hitting the level cap, hopefully you're earning enough stuff to unlock equipment, like gold chests, and get equipment and all that stuff, and get your characters geared up. And then you start buying blessings from this beautiful menu here, and there are some damn important blessings. The Tier 1 global blessing, the one on the right here, double damage, which impacts all campaigns, is the same in all three, and is extremely important for allowing you to progress further. Like, those should be the first ones you buy, but you should never be spending all of your favor. You know, I wouldn't personally spend more than half. So that's what I got, Davey. I hope that helps. XMSKX. Could we get some sort of global event with some sort of final boss which gets shared by every player? Probably not. Sorry, it's just waving at Kat, because Kat's going to come in here in a second. Yeah, we've talked a bit about community events, and like the high rollers thing is like a good example of our approach to a community event, in that the community is contributing to it. It affects something outside the game, but it doesn't have a negative impact in game if you don't keep in, you know, up to date in it or whatever. So that's a better idea of what we might consider doing. I don't know that global bosses and stuff like that are something that we're looking at doing, especially since this is very much not a multiplayer game. Oh, Drash 234. So I'm sorry to answer your question this way, but you're asking when I think that the store will have a code slot for mobile Android devices. We are not allowed to, so never. I know we had a version of the game that rolled out to iPads briefly that allowed for code entrances, and then we quickly fixed it because we're not allowed to do that. It's straight up part of the license agreement working on those platforms. You can't give people a way of bypassing the Apple or Google Play stores. So, sucks, but that's an unfortunate thing. So, I was actually talking to David about this yesterday, in that, like, we're still working on a workaround that would both fit within the license agreement constraints that we have to operate on and putting something on iPad and a tablet for Android, while also allowing our players a way to engage with our stream and our newsletters and stuff like that and get loot. So we're still working on it, but like, it's a balancing act. It's not as easy as simply, you know, having everything delivered to players or anything like that. It's we have to not fool Apple, because that's not really what you're doing, but we have to do something that fits within their guidelines, which is a challenge. So anyways, on that note, I'm going to introduce my guest, whose shoulder and part of her seat you can see. This is Kat.
Hello.
Yeah. I gotta shuffle over, and then I'll turn your mic on.
That would help.
It helps a lot. And then yeah, just pull it close.
Okay.
Almost like it's too close, like it's uncomfortably close.
Okay. I will make best friends with this mic.
Yeah, perfect. Cool. Yeah. There we go. I can move the arms of my chair in.
Okay.
Yeah, this is where you can see that it's a streaming closet. It's
Yes.
already kind of warm, and the camera is tilted, I notice. Yeah. There we go.
I'm
That's a
also
little
just really short, so it's fine.
It's okay, I'm tall, and this thing props me up a tiny bit, but I tend to like lean back, and then the heights are similar because the camera angle. Yeah. Anyways, I think before, I don't mean to skip questions because there's a number more, but we'll get to that, hopefully. What I'm going to do now is put on the Wolfgar time lapse.
Yes.
Because Wolfgar is Kat's first champion.
My first boy, yes.
And then I'm gonna turn that on. And then hopefully the audio comes through properly on this, because the last time we did this, there was an issue. Because Windows 10 is awesome and does fun things. And it did a thing where it really messed with the audio settings. So
Good to know.
I mean, I can hear it coming through, and it's kind of quiet because I didn't want it to be too loud, but
Yeah.
I just went with a kind of drum beaty thing that repeats.
Seems fitting to me.
Yeah. So tell us about what it's like to have your first character be one of the most iconic characters added to the game.
Oh, no pressure.
Yeah.
To sum up basically that. So I never read any of the books. I have no attachment to any of the companions of the hall, but I know how much they mean to other people, and so I took it very seriously. Spent a lot of time looking at like the reference, obviously, and once I actually had the sketches done, I got you and Chris and Adam all to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
Like Adam, obviously being the art director, is like, am I doing this right?
Mm-hmm.
But then like you and Chris, I figured would be the people in the office who would know the character the best.
Mm-hmm.
So got good little bits of feedback, like mostly make him more bulky.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I agree with.
Yeah. Yeah. He's gotta be more like Terry Crews, you know, just.
Yeah, it was definitely, there's a lot that had to get him in line with our style, but still look like he should look.
Yeah. There was a pretty compelling piece of reference art for him too.
Yeah, the reference was really good. All the companions have a really good like set of reference. But we had a bunch of back and forth also about like he's supposed to be like 6'3" or whatever, like he's huge, but we can't really do super tall characters because like it gets in the way of like the person above them's DPS.
Yep.
So
Yeah, we definitely have like the way that the roster is laid out, especially since it's not perspective based, so the guy in the back doesn't look a little smaller or anything. And then Tyrrell being a Firbolg, he's not 8 feet tall. So yeah, it kind of it varies from 1 to 1.
which is why I have Tyrrell right next to him. It's like, well, this is the tallest person we have supposedly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, especially with his staff. There we go. It's as far in as I can get. I knew if I had salad for lunch that was all like cucumber and beets and stuff that I would have to go to the bathroom halfway through the stream. And so here we are. Anyways, so let's talk about Wolfguard detail, because there's a lot of detail in this. Much more so than many of our champions. Now, is that because of how detail oriented you are, or because like you wanted to make sure you captured everything that was in the reference art? Like,
it could be me. You know, I, compared to Adam and Alexis, I haven't been doing this super long as far as like actual game art and illustrator art. So sometimes I find this, especially with icons, that I'll finish something and then I'll zoom out and be like, whoops, I can't even see this thing that I spent a half hour on.
yeah.
So that, I think that's me a bit, having a bad habit, because I do like detail a lot.
Yeah.
But for Wolfguard, I think he just has a lot of interesting detailed bits. Like his, you know, the elk is really important. The dagger is really important.
Yeah.
So.
He's got a lot of his character is tied to what he's wearing. So it's not like a generic tunic like Deacon's wearing. And so, you know, does he have more components that make up his movement than other champions normally do, or fewer?
It's hard to say in comparison to champions, because I haven't done any others. And I looked at some animations for various others, like Jamila and Krond. Because Krond has the same sort of two-handed hammer thing. And then Jamila has the like swipe up, which with his animations he has a jump up. Because even though this is the drawing part, you really have to be thinking about the animation for later. I forgot what my point was.
Complexity.
Yes. Okay, so he definitely has a lot more parts than, say, Jamila or Krond. And I don't find it especially hard animating more parts when it's like accessory stuff. So like both those wolf paws are separate, and then like his braid and the wolf head and the dagger is even separate from his belt, which is separate from his skirt, which is separate from his torso. Because the more separations you have, the more movement you can have. And when you're putting stuff together in Flash, if it's a big movement, you can just select multiple things at the same time. So like there's a lot of points where I would do the skirt, the belt, and the dagger all at the same time. And then maybe go back in and do a little bit extra on the dagger. It just adds that little bit of like detail that some people notice and appreciate.
And especially given that the intended size that they're to scale to in the game a lot of the time, like it's got to be tricky to balance what will even be visible to players versus what they won't be able to catch.
For example, his hair. He's got a whole hair piece that...
A whole lot of hair,
shows up in, like, 3 frames. But it had to be there because it's part of his character.
He's got those... He's got that very Nordic-looking, long blonde hair with the braid and everything. So, let's talk about this hammer.
Oh, boy, this hammer. So there was a big discussion on the Discord about this hammer that I read, because I was like, oh no, I need to know what everyone is saying about this thing that I have drawn. But it was more a discussion about like, what is Wolfgar's hammer even supposed to look like? Because the original covers for the novels, it's like this dinky little one-headed like ball peen hammer thing. And then there's some that looks more like a sledgehammer, and this one, obviously the design is just off the reference, which, you know, Wizards commissioned this artist to do some time ago, so we know that it's down to their specifications. But even in that reference, it's pretty small, honestly. But because our game is pretty cartoony, and because of the scale of all the characters, as you said, we just sort of, we being mostly me and Adam, I guess, agreed that like making it bigger is okay because it's supposed to be cool.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's a fantasy element to Warhammers, because like actual Warhammers were, I mean, they're meant for puncturing through armor and like just like getting somebody in the head and killing them, but like the focal point of that tends to be tiny.
Yeah.
So I thought this was cool that it was like this big hammer that only a giant barbarian dude could wield.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of time went into it because it had all these little details, and that's another thing that like probably not going to see in game too much, but it's important to the lore.
Yeah, I noticed them watching when I was putting this video together.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, like, yeah. It was because it's, certainly when he's on screen, he's kind of small. So,
yeah. And then I had to draw the hammer twice because of
to get the
of
angle.
angles. Yeah. On the down of his swing, I drew like straight facing forward version of it.
You could always watch Man at Arms episodes to see how they make things, and then just get more ideas for how to put the leather straps on there, and so on. So, actually, everybody should just flood their channel and say, "Make Wolfgar's axe, make Aegis Fang." I wonder if they'd actually do it. They might.
It'd be interesting.
I don't know. They make everything else. They got to get there eventually, right? Okay, so. I don't know. I mean, I guess what was this like for you? Because this is your first time. I remember talking to Alexis about the first character she did for the game. I want to say it was either Zorbu or Birdsong. Yeah. She did another one right away, and she's just kind of like, I don't really have anything else to add for my next one because it was pretty similar to the last one.
Yeah.
But this is your first champion. So what was that like for you?
It's real cool. I really wanted to do one. I've wanted to do one for a little while now. Character design is my preferred line of work.
Yeah.
Though I mostly do equipment icons here at this point, which can get pretty tiring. So it was really exciting. Even though it's a character that I don't have any attachment to, like knowing that he was important to other people and that like people have been asking for him for so long.
Yeah.
So it was really cool, but it was also pretty stressful. It's like I really want to get him right, which is why I kept asking people for feedback and stuff. But everyone was very patient with my like, "Are you sure this looks okay?"
Yeah. No, it's good though. I mean, it's everybody's here to give feedback, so. Yeah.
I think the actual animating him was more difficult than the drawing and coloring, because I've done far less animation than I have drawing just in general. And like I've done plenty of monsters, but most of the time the animations for monsters are just like swapped in from some other monster.
Yeah.
Very few really have something from scratch. I've done a couple from scratch. I know I had to do a bunch of stuff from scratch for Zariel.
Yeah.
But I had Michelle clean her up because I was like, I hate this and I don't know what's wrong, and it has to go out like tomorrow. And she's like, it's okay. But so for Wolfgar, like because of deadlines and stuff, we were talking about Alexis doing half of them and me doing half of them. But then she was like, no, how about you start? Like you've got a whole day of like lead up. So you start today, and then we'll find out tomorrow if you need extra help. So she sort of sat me down and did a quick little tutorial of like, she wrote on sticky notes for like walk cycle tips and stuff like that. It was all very nice.
Oh, cool.
And a bunch of stuff about like the actual how it goes in technically. Like she went over and talked to Mark about like, okay, well his attack is going to jump and he's going to like launch over to an enemy or whatever. How do you want that set up in the symbols? And it was all very helpful. And so then that first day I did his idle animation and his walk cycle, and I think also his KO'd. And I started on like the big, like when you animate, you sort of do a what would you call it? Like a pose pass. Like you get the big movement beats before doing all the in-betweening stuff. So I basically had that by the end of the day. So then we looked at it together the next morning, and she gave me a lot of really good tips again.
Yeah.
And you know, always having a day to like leave it and come back and be like, okay, these parts are way better than I thought they were.
Yeah.
Like I was like, this looks awful, but it was like, oh, it's actually okay. And then, but at the same time, can notice more the parts that need tweaking, and that it's not that bad.
Okay. So let's talk about this this hammer angle. Which, given the way that the game is animated and designed, looks like it was probably a challenge to come up with the attack animation.
Yeah. I honestly, the animation part was it was quite tricky. But I did just go through and like animate everything first with just the angle of the hammer, and then when it was done, I was like, man, this is bad. Like, I had to call over Alexis and Adam and be like, I think I have to do like a straight on one. It was like, yeah. I was like, okay, well, it's gonna be a little late then, because I think it was like supposed to be submitted the end of that day, and it was like, it's 4:30 and I have to go home, and it's gonna take me another like half hour to draw a second version of this hammer. And I was like,
yeah,
okay, well, you know, one day is not the end of the world. Things slip sometimes. But that it was only for the coming down of the strike, because like he's also got the throw, but the way it came out, it didn't really need to be changed.
Okay.
Maybe because it's faster. Like it's still this big arc, but as an angle, it looks okay.
Cool. I'm just kind of watching it because I haven't watched all of this yet. I checked to make sure that it worked.
Yeah.
And that's how far it is. Like, we haven't uploaded this to our YouTube yet or anything.
Yeah. Speed draws are always fun to watch. And Illustrator ones especially are different because there's all of this
all the lines
nonsense.
Getting cleared. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, I do like watching Photoshop ones come together more, just because they of the way that the sketching looks.
Yeah.
Like I like watching a painting come together more than I like this, but this is still really cool because this is not at all how I think about art.
No, this isn't how I think most people think about art. This isn't how I thought about art before I came here. Like, it's very technical, but it's, you know, part of what we gotta do. It's definitely the least favorite part of the job.
Oh, the fact that it's an Illustrator?
Yeah, I'm not a fan, but, you know, we have our reasons.
Yeah. Everything's got to be vector, everything's got to scale, etc., etc. Scott was giving us a really hard time about Illustrator a lot.
Yeah.
And by us, I mean Adam. Giving Adam a hard time a lot at
Basically.
PAX about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny. Huh.
Yeah. I guess the other thing to say is that compared to, again, Adam and Alexis, I didn't start with black and white. I just go straight to color. And I don't really have a lot of insight about why that is, other than it's how I work. Like, obviously I've seen them working in black and white, and I get why. It's for, like, value, especially, like, zooming out and checking, like, does this thing that needs to pop enough?
Yeah.
But that doesn't I don't find that super helpful, because just going from, like, a value to then I have to find the color for it, it's like, I'm gonna have to noodle about on the color picker anyway.
Yeah.
So I just go straight to color, because then it also, as far as having the different chunks of things for animation, makes it a lot easier to keep things separate.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, it still weirds me out, the layering, just because all the parts have to be chopped up in order to animate.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That was another thing I sort of picked up during my time here. Like, the first humanoid animated things I did were for Crusaders. And I want to say the first couple times I just drew the whole thing and then had to, like, delete parts and take it apart like a horrible Frankenstein doll.
Yeah.
And then I just got used to being like, no, draw the whole sketch on one layer, but then every single piece is a new layer. And it just, I don't know, it works out that way.
We're getting to the end of the video here. It's almost done.
The finishing touches that no one will see.
It looks good, though.
Thank you.
I think like in the event that we ever do blow this up or unlock sheets for him or something, that it'll be really evident. I don't know about the coloring sheet, though. That might be a nightmare to put together.
Yeah, we'll see, I guess.
Huh. Cool. I don't know what our art pipeline is like. Are you doing another champion in the next little bit here?
Probably not right away. Things are a little bit up in the air in the art side of the office right now, because we're getting to the second year of things.
Yeah.
Things are going to be changing. There are much fewer monsters that are going to have to be done.
Yeah.
Much fewer backgrounds. There's still going to be some icons, but like not a lot. And there's also probably not really going to be portraits unless we're doing actual new campaign adventures.
Yeah.
But for events, suddenly we have all this extra time, kind of, because
You're not doing all the backgrounds and everything from
Yeah.
scratch anymore. Yeah.
because before, obviously, like, I would do all of the equipment and the icons and the portraits, and that would keep me busy for the, like, 2 weeks that... It's usually about 2 weeks. And then Michelle would do all the monsters, and that would keep her busy for the 2 weeks. And sometimes someone would have to help her. And then Alexis would do all the backgrounds, and that would mostly keep her busy. Sometimes she'd hop over and help Adam with, like, all the most miscellaneous icons, like the achievements and stuff like that. And in the beginning, at least, Adam would do the actual champion. And then sort of things shifted as Adam had to do, like, UI things and other little niggly bits. And Alexis did the champions, and I did Wolfguard because she was away, actually. I think it was during her, like...
The vacation time that she took?
Yeah, I think it was her, like, wedding anniversary.
Oh, like, I figured she was marathoning or something.
I mean, she might have also...
all these marathoners we have in the office.
Yeah.
People run for fun. It's so weird.
I know.
Crazy people.
Crazy. But that was why I got to do Wolfgar. But there is hope in the future that I will do more.
Yeah. So why flip back and forth like that?
The flipping is very important to check your... Just look for errors, basically. Like, when you flip something, it's sort of... It's like looking at it brand new again.
Oh, okay.
Your brain can be like, oh, you know...
Easier to get fresh eyes on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Things that are off will stand out better, basically.
Cool. Oh, my head's in the way of the tip. That's how you play them. Although there's a really good dev blog and other info about it. Okay. We could totally watch that again. First, I want to show off this. Some more character art that one of our players posted, Jaggernaut. Yeah, there's Wolfgar on the left, and then Binwin and Ishi Snaggletooth. We were pretty stoked to see all this stuff.
Yeah.
And if you have art, whether it's fan art for us or something that you want to share in this way, please just send a tweet at us, because we love this stuff. It's really, really cool to come in and see another creative take on work.
Fan art is always cool.
Yeah.
It's the most Fabio looking Wolfgar I've ever seen.
You know, I'm
I
not
mean that
gonna
in the
lie.
best way.
I'm not gonna lie. I kind of pictured Fabio when, like, Wolfgar to me has always kind of been like, because he's like, well, he's this giant, ripped Scandinavian looking dude with long hair. Like, that's Fabio. And then the other time I think of him, I think about that time that he took a bird to the face while on a roller coaster, which was like the funniest news story of that year. Yeah. Anyways, we're gonna get to some of the questions that have been waiting for Kat. But first, let's get this other tab working. Wait, no, that's not the thing. No, that's not it either. God, where did I put it? What did I do? I moved everything around. There it is.
You've broken everything.
No, I moved all my buttons. So, yeah. Some music. Very faint music. And I'll let my companions of the hall continue to progress. They're at area 110. Twitch Mithril says, thanks for drawing awesome stuff.
Of course.
And Tea Time with Toby says, Wolfgar looks amazing. Thanks for the great art. Anathol Belazar says, great work, your own David. Tarkus really likes the animation. Queen Lily wants to know the story behind your screen name.
Oh, no. It's awful.
That's a good question. I don't know this one, so.
You don't. It's pretty dumb. I honestly have been wanting to change it, but, like, I'm to Art Monkey everywhere, and it would just be a big hassle.
Yeah.
Basically, it's what happens when you start your brand when you're, like, 14. It was first, I think, my DeviantArt account that some high school friends persuaded me to make, and I was like, well, I don't know what to do for my, like, username.
Yeah.
But basically, with my at the time best friend, we had this sort of weird joke that I was the art monkey. I was always the one doing the art because we sort of had these like shared stories and stuff. She would do writing, and I would do art and also writing sometimes. I can't pronounce that username.
Exarch Salasso.
Yeah, thank you so much. That does mean a lot. Anyway, yeah, it was just a dumb in-joke between like two 14-year-olds, and it stuck.
That's all right. I've had my screen handle since 1996 or 97, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, I just haven't told anybody what it is.
That's the problem, right? Like, I
have that login ID on every platform imaginable.
Yeah. But it's public facing, and especially because I want people to see my art.
Yeah.
And I want to be known for it or whatever, but yeah, I don't have much attachment to it now. Like, actually saying it out loud is always a little weird. So I don't know. I have to either think of something and just like change everything in one night, and now I'm somebody else. Or I don't know. Yeah.
As far as names go, it's not a bad name.
Well, thank you.
Alrighty. Let's see. Question for Kat. Do you, as artists, ever get the opportunity to make suggestions on what you want added to the game as game assets, or does it always come from above? In quotes.
Almost always comes from above. Sometimes. Very occasionally, like Justin or Chris would be like, what's a monster we need to use? And be like, oh, hey, we haven't done... I don't know. That hasn't happened more than once or twice. When we did distractions, we all got to decide what they were. You know, I did the snake and the octopus in the barrel, and something else. Oh, I edited all the birds to be different, but, yeah. Yeah, and then obviously champions, like, they have lore equivalents or are from shows or whatever, so we can't change those. We wouldn't want to. And same with equipment. So I think for me, I get the most of my own input in portraits, because very often it'll be just like a noble or a merchant or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I can be like, okay, here's an old Asian lady merchant. There you go.
Somebody wants to know if we'll get a Wolfgar skin where he has a beard and a bear skin.
Don't know.
Can you spoil who will draw Nordum the Modron? People are always asking about Nordum. That's so funny. Oh, man. I'm pretty sure Nordum is not at all 5e. I know we had the Great Modron March, but that's canonically a part of the Forgotten Realms, and is thus, you know, Modrons are in the monster manual and stuff, like they're a part of 5e, but Planescape Torment isn't really. At least, I don't even know if they're working on it. I hope they are. Time wants to know how many layers Wolfgar has. Oh,
that's a good question that I can't answer from here.
I'd click on the file to load it right now, but the CPU load when we have XSplit running and cameras running and the audio processing and the game running and Photoshop open, it might kill this. I mean, it's the older stream computer, but it might kill this computer to boot up Illustrator and have a look.
Like, even Illustrator and Photoshop at the same time is bad.
Yeah.
At least 20. I would say that, because you've got like feet, lower leg, upper leg, hand, lower arm, upper arm, blah blah blah. Mm-hmm. And he's got a lot of extra little dangly bits. With
every joint seems to have its own layer, and then you know, head, neck.
Even the cape has 2 different layers to it. So like,
weapons, hands.
Yeah.
Yeah. GU Comics wants to know if we keep these videos live anywhere so we could they could be rewatched. We do, actually. We have the Codename Entertainment YouTube channel has them. So if you do a YouTube search for art time lapse with a champion name, the ones that have been made will show up. We haven't uploaded the Wolfgar one yet, but we will. But I believe we uploaded Ishii and Azaka. No, actually, did we even record Azaka? We didn't. There isn't an Azaka time-lapse. But there is an Ishii one, and Diath, and Evelyn, and Binwin, and so on. Going back to, I think Strix was our first one that we recorded. Yeah. And then Exarch Salasso wants to know if you play D&D.
Oh, yeah. So much. I think I was in like 5 five current campaigns at once at the most, which was
That's a lot.
just like a month or two ago.
Wow.
Like counting all the ones here, because we play in the office, and we've got a couple different ones that kind of go off and on. We've got a Curse of Strahd campaign that's been on hold for quite a while that we want to get back to. We had your campaign doing Sunless Citadel.
Yep.
Nick has been running Adventures League for a while, which
Yep.
is pretty cool. Was there something else? Oh yeah, you were going to do Dragon Heist.
Yep.
We have to
Hasn't
figure
really
that
worked. It's been too many people not around
Yeah,
in order to do it.
I was sick for a week.
Yeah,
Nick-
you and Georgia were both out last week.
Yeah.
And it's just been crazy busy. And then with Clive still gone, I have enough extra on my plate, and also in terms of getting this stream machine on, that I haven't, like I'll play like 20 minutes of video games at lunch, and then I'll just keep working.
Yeah.
So,
Alexis checked, and it's 30 layers for Wolfgar. So
that's a lot of layers.
it is. That also just kind of speaks to me. I always use a lot of layers like on my own art at home, so I'm not at all surprised. Yeah, and then I've got a weekend crew that I play with, who actually now we have 2 D&D campaigns with, where like one of them, the only difference is like one different player, but they're completely different. And the main crew, we just finished a campaign in the Genesis system that we recorded for a podcast. But we're still working on editing and getting all that stuff together. But I'm very excited about it.
Erica says not as many layers as Georgia, right, Kat?
I'll never beat Georgia in layers.
Yeah, doesn't she do like hundreds?
Literally hundreds. I've seen her screenshots and I don't understand. I like, Georgia, I love you, but I don't understand.
Yeah. We don't have to draw anything. We could just leave Ishii up.
I could draw though.
Yeah, but you could
It's a
draw.
half hour.
Although I'm noticing. Oh, no, it still works. The pen, I think I have everything there for you.
We will find out.
Yeah, we can
Just
always
have to move a couple
shuffle
things.
this over. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Dogberry wants to know if you did the Golden Crow.
I did not.
Yeah.
That was Adam. He just did it like instantaneously one day. Because I mean it's just a recolor. It's not that hard.
Yeah.
Oh, what should I draw though? Chat, tell me what to draw. Does Cat do commissions? Yes and no. I've done them. I am capable of doing them. I am not a huge fan. Just because on my own time, when I'm not at work, I like doing my own art. But if you're curious, you can DM me on Discord or Twitter. Again, to Art Monkey. I'm on the Idle Champions Discord under CNE Cat. Yeah, we can talk about it.
There's some requests for Dritz, Strahd, or a golden squid in a barrel.
Okay.
Oh, another Dritz.
I will try and do Dritz without a reference.
Yeah. It's a long-haired drow in a green coat.
Yeah.
No, sorry, green cloak. Black leather armor. He's pretty drow looking.
Fair enough.
Yeah. It's funny because I was just reading the D&D Beyond thing talking about drow and like just the history of them in the creative medium.
Yeah.
From when they were created by Gary Gygax to just straight up be antagonists to, Ed Greenwood and R.A. Salvatore, like really expanding upon them in the Forgotten Realms and stuff like that. It was actually pretty interesting.
Yeah. In current,
Good job, James Hake, if for some reason you're watching this.
In current, I guess, like player culture, drow and tieflings have really been adopted by marginalized groups like LGBT and stuff because, well, there's lots of identification that goes on there, being the outcasts and stuff like that. So all this stuff in the player's handbook about like, oh, they always lean towards evil, everybody throws that out because we just want to play our demon babies.
Well, then the other part of it is that up until 5e, they've been monstrous races. And they're not anymore. They're just player races.
Right.
So that also marks a shift just in terms of how D&D has put a lens on it. I don't know if that is just because of when Jeremy Crawford took a more of a hand in the creative lead or what, because there's a lot more inclusivity and a lot more stuff aimed at making the game more open.
There's that paragraph in Dragon Heist that is really, really meaningful. Like, it's a little thing, but it's so important, you guys.
Yeah. It was a really phenomenal response to that.
Yeah.
I mean, you get the odd troll too, but You get trolls for everything. I mean,
Fuck them.
yeah, people often don't agree with you, so it's okay. Yeah, it was cool. That was a really good paragraph too.
Mm-hmm.
These headphones, like, just don't. I got big ears for these headphones. They're just not quite that comfortable. Solanove, Yanti are my favorite race. I love them. Yeah, you know what? There are so many awesome races. I have a small booklet of just both NPC and PC characters that I have made, or in various states of creation, just based on like, oh, like, what game am I playing? If I die in that game, what character would I grab? Like, how would I fit in, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's really easy to identify more strongly with some races than others.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, man, there's so many options. Like, it's like, I'm definitely one of those, like, I want to try them all kind of deals. Like, I'm not the biggest fan of halflings, but I did make a halfling monk with Lucky, with and it was just like, they really could just get out of any situation.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, well, you never get a 1 basically, and you can also re-roll, and it's just like so much bullshit that you can do if you want to meta game and be a pain in the ass. But at the same time, like, I really like that Warforged Tempest Cleric.
He's cool.
He's fun. He's got a growing personality, as he's kind of like not that awake for backstory reasons that I haven't got into yet. But
yeah, I really find him fun to play off of with my wizard.
Yeah, it was interesting because I had to go to PAX, so I'm just like, I just told Nick, I'm like, my character just says he remembers something and then he leaves.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all he does. He just goes.
It reminds me that Nick asked us to, like, give him some backstory stuff. I have to do that.
Yeah. Because
I didn't write a whole lot for Penn because we're pretty, like, light on backstory stuff in this office.
Yeah.
And especially for, like, Adventures League, we weren't sure about how serious
yeah, it's pretty one-shotty, so,
yeah.
So. I only played Alton for a couple games, and he's just such a douche that I'm like, I don't like playing this character.
Yeah.
He's a one-trick pony. I rolled really high, so he's a Hexblade Paladin, so it's already bullshit.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I can one-shot everything. Cool. But...
kind of boring.
Well, just also personality-wise. I mean, the Warforged tends to one-shot a lot of stuff, too, but that's because Tempest Clerics are OP.
Just a little.
It's a Channel Divinity. Channel Divinity on a damage type that, like, almost nobody gets resistance to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyways, I distracted myself. Let's see. People talking about Discworld. Furbolg Drunken Monk is my favorite. Yeah, that's a good one. Tea Time with Toby. I like that one. Why is Dritz so weak in game? Epga. Well, so here's the thing. And I don't mind addressing this question. I'm not going to dodge it. When we first dropped Dritz into the game, and he was extraordinarily difficult for people to unlock at the time, he was one of those, like, maybe 1% of players kind of get for the longest time. And then, he stayed at, like, a 1% of player base, having unlocked him for quite a few months afterwards, until after we had things like, increased level caps and more champions and synergies added to the game. And now part of that is because we were always cycling new players into the game and old players out of the game, so it also kept it, like, probably artificially low at 1%. But, it was one of those things where, like, not a lot of players unlocked him. We always knew that we wanted to balance him around the Companions of the Hall. And so we're like, okay, at that point it was just Bruner in the game, and then we added Dritz, and then it was like, okay, we knew Regis was coming up. We knew that Catti was a ways away and that Wolfgar was a long ways away, so we wanted to try and balance making him good with also, not making him so overpowered that you feel forced to use him in the event that the other companions come out and they make him too good. But because of that, we kind of held off really addressing him. And his ultimate ability was actually had ridiculous scaling for a while and was allowing people to progress much further than their walls were before. So we kind of felt like, okay, he's in a state where we can leave him alone. And he's gradually fallen out of favor for a variety of reasons, one of which being that he shares a slot with champions that are just categorically better right now. He's in a competitive slot. So we're aware of this, and yeah, making the companions of the hall better functionally and balancing them as in relative to the rest of the game is something that is very much on the radar for the champion balance updates. So we'll get to it. But yeah, he's not as strong as we would like. What week number did Regis appear in? Regis was the first new champion of this year as part of Midwinter back in January. So that was following the Winter Shield event that had Barrow, where we accidentally broke our game for like 3 weeks. And just didn't know it because we were on our Christmas vacation and people were using Barrow to progress to thousands of levels. So
that was a time.
That was interesting. Yeah, that was a fun thing to come back to. Oh, whoops. Whoa, super whoops. Like, yeah. Just stuff that hadn't been considered in the time, design-wise. Yeah. Good times. That is an appropriately severe look on Dritz's face.
Good.
Yeah. Dritz is one of those characters who's probably never ever smiled. So let's talk about how long you've been drawing for. Are you another one of those students who teachers said draws too much on all your report cards and you got in trouble in school, or what?
Yes, but only the half of that. They would say draws a lot. It's great. And my family was always super encouraging of it.
Yeah.
So I never got in trouble, but I did draw during class all the time. But I was also just like in general a good student. So I didn't get in trouble for it. But yeah, like, as soon as I could hold a pencil, I was drawing. And then I got really serious about it and was like, hey, I think I want to do this as like career stuff.
Yeah.
I always cite it as when I was 12, because that's when I sort of did homeschooling and that didn't really work out. And so I was just drawing all day.
Yeah.
And started a comic that, didn't go anywhere. I was 12. It was dumb. But it's definitely where it started, like, this is serious.
Yeah.
And everybody was all on board, which is very cool and not something that a lot of people get. So
yeah,
count myself lucky in that kind of.
Oh yeah, I don't know what I want to do when I grow up. So. Yeah.
The only other time, like the only time that it was not be an artist, there was a brief time I was like, maybe veterinarian. And then I learned that you have to put animals down, like, for their own good sometimes. And I was like, no, never mind. I can't do that.
Yeah. Can I borrow this just to scroll down for a second? Because I think there's more and we just can't see it. I am incorrect. All right. So I'm just going to scroll up to some of the questions I didn't get to.
Yeah,
just
go for it.
Spare moments.
Oh, Artillery Kiss 69. That comic is actually up on DeviantArt, and you can find it.
No way, really?
You can find it and read it.
Are you Art Monkey on DeviantArt as well?
Maybe.
Oh, interesting. That's gonna be posted to our Mattermost by the time we get off stream.
It's bad. I showed Eric's one of Eric's sons the first year that I was here, and we had our company barbecue, and I ended up talking to him a lot about art. And he got really interested, and I was like, yeah, well, okay, well, it's here, and you can read it if you want. It's terrible, but you know what? I was 12. I allow for a certain amount of mistakes from a child. And he really enjoyed it, and he ended up drawing me a little fan art of the main character, and it's precious to me now.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm just going to try and work through some of these questions, because there's some more questions coming for Kat, I'm sure, but there are a bunch that I didn't get to. So one of them, somebody was suggesting that now that we have a number of adventuring groups as part of the game, including Companions of the Hall, Force Grey, Dice Camera Action, or the Waffle Crew, how about unlocking sets of special adventures or side quests where only those heroes are available for use once you've collected all the members of each party? I mean, the balancing element of that would be we wouldn't want to release a bunch of content that nobody has access to just because they've missed one or more characters out of those groups. But yeah, I mean, that's a cool idea, and we like the idea of Companions of the Hall having their own adventures. So, that's something that Chris has talked about. I don't know where it fits into this grand scheme of things, but that could happen. I guess is the best answer I can give you. Let's see. When are you going to add an option to acquire missed weekend buff golden epics? I can say that we're going to, and that it's just the amount of work that put into redesigning the in-game shop so that it could accommodate all these different things. And like it was, I mean, even to me, I found that process surprising and lengthy. And I totally understand why. And it went through a lot of iterations, and it should, because it needs to hit a pretty high level of quality in order to function the way that we want and do all the things that we needed to do. But yeah, weekend promotion golden epics have been a part of that discussion. And I'm just not sure yet when that's going to get integrated in. But yes, we are definitely going to revisit them. There's no intent to make anything impossible to get after a certain point. Although I don't know about that Jarlaxle party skin. I mean, I don't know if that's going to stay difficult to get or whatever. Anyways, Doodle Wolfsbane, still new to this game, so probably a very noobish question here. But how do you get gold up so quickly like Dylan? That's just building up favor to obscenely high levels. You know, once your characters reach a high enough amount of equipment quality, like you've got epics on everybody, you've got, you know, shinies on a fair amount of gear, you've got some golden equipment if you've purchased stuff, you know, you're able to progress so much further in the game. And once you can progress really far, you can kind of brute force your way much further rather than having to worry about resetting as frequently as newer players. And when you do that, you can just build up large amounts of favor really quickly. So like just as an example, the first time I did like when I start an event and I'm doing the mission to unlock that champion, I don't stop at 50. I tend to stop at like 150, maybe 200, because I can just, you know, use potions and familiars and stuff and just like tear through there based on the quality of my gear, which gives me a huge start to favor for the very first time I do other things. And so it just compounds on it. Like the more powerful you get, the more powerful you can get, and it just kind of scales indefinitely. Time wants to know, what's your best idea for a drawing that came out the worst?
Oh, wow, that's a question. I'll have to think about that. Go to the next one. I'll have a good think on that.
Okay.
Best idea for drawing that came out the worst.
Baron Stromcard asked when we'll see a golden epic equipment card for Azaka Stormfang. We want a decent percentage of our player base to actually have Azaka before we do something like that. So, not soon. Lightbolt 70. Is there a way to get champions for old events? Yeah, there's several ways. So, if you're a free-to-play player, then you can wait for the event to come around again, or you can use open a time gate. And while the champions that show up in your time gate are randomized, it is weighted to at least include one character you haven't unlocked before, if there's anybody you haven't unlocked. Other than that, it's kind of RNG, but you can open a time gate naturally every 3 weeks or so in between events. And then on top of that, you can also open them yourself with time gate pieces. So you can unlock champions that way, and you can get a couple of chests each time for champions that way. As well as, I mean, Divine Favor is always going to be worthwhile in time gates as well as events, because you get percentage-based increases to the favor that you have. Like, so that's really good. And then on top of those two methods, if you are a player who is able to, you can always also purchase them. So, best drawing that came out the worst.
Man, it's a difficult question, but the one that's coming to mind, maybe at the time I wouldn't have cited, but it was from high school, so, you know, high school art. But it was a kind of painting. I was always really, like, not down on painting, so it just ended up being, like, a drawing that happened to use acrylic. I can't remember what it was called. It might have been called, like, Welcome to the Machine or something like that. I was a super edgy 16-year-old.
Yeah.
And so it was one of my characters who was, like, a half robot experiment thing, and man, I think of it and I cringe, because his body is like this. He's basically like this, looking at the camera and looking all mean and grinning and shit. But his body goes like this, and it goes off the page.
Oh,
just thinking of that.
This is like super weird.
Oh, it's awful. Oh, why'd you make me remember that time? I'm never gonna forgive you.
All right, I'm gonna scroll down again.
Yeah, go ahead.
Way to bring up bad memories for Kat. Somebody wants your advice for introducing grade schoolers to digital art. So the apps they've found to date are either too technical or too basic. Like, are there any good middle ground suggestions in your opinion?
Oh, nothing immediately comes to mind. Like, Photoshop is nice, but I could definitely see it being too complicated. If you used it to introduce like students or whatever to it, you could just sort of cordon off the more complicated bits because like, you know, it's my tool of choice and really I just use the brush tool. That is it.
Yeah.
I use some layer styles sometimes with like getting the finishing touches on stuff, but actually drawing is just like brush tool. That's it. Huh. I don't know if it's still around, but I used to use a program called Open Canvas, which was basically like a lightweight Photoshop. That might be good. I hear Fire Alpaca is really good, and I think that one's free. Paint Tool Sai is amazing, but it's also kind of a rabbit hole. It's got like the most minute brush settings, so you like when you know what you're doing, you can really get exactly what you want out of a brush, but that might be too complicated. People always say GIMP as a Photoshop alternative. I've never used it.
I haven't even thought about GIMP in like 15 years. It's still around?
Oh yeah, because it's free. And
cool.
if
well,
you
good
really
for them
can't
that they're still around.
Yeah, they're definitely getting outpaced by stuff like Sai and Fire Alpaca.
Yeah.
But
okay.
Yeah, I guess that would be, yeah.
Cool. I'm going to tear through a few questions quick because it's already 9 minutes to the hour. So, Bill VR asked if characters could be included in the game that are not from a D&D setting but are really not copyright protected, like Hercules or other mythology type heroes. And the chances are extraordinarily unlikely, which is mainly because this is a Forgotten Realms focused game. So if there's going to be a mythological character at it, it's going to be one from the canon of Forgotten Realms, not from the canon of Earth. Or Earth, as they say in Lilo and Stitch. New Evergreen Champion question. Will there ever be new Evergreens that new players at low favor can unlock instead of always having a super high level needed? That's a very good question. I don't know that, because we have one or two in development right now, and I think that they're both tied to high level unlocks, and it's more because we don't add them to old adventures that people have already completed. We add them to new adventures that we're adding to the game. And as we progress further when releasing content for the game, it naturally scales up. So I don't know if we will do that. The only evergreen that new players have access to right outside the gate are Hitch if they sign up for the newsletter, which you should totally sign up for the newsletter. We give out free codes through it. To platforms that are allowed to use codes, and we will figure out how to better suit our tablet players. Because,
we hear you.
Yeah, we hear you. Not only do we hear, we'll make it up to you. All right, Hasty Tadpole. Loved getting a familiar for the anniversary event. Any plans to offer familiars in the future that are not bought with gems or dollars? Possibly, but there's nothing I can spoil about that. Magenta Shirt has another question for you. Any thoughts about the Affinity Designer photo publisher from Seraph?
I've never heard of that one. I'm sorry.
Oh, so no.
No thoughts.
Yeah, and then Dreadwolf Odyssey question: any plans on adding a healer in a slot which allows you to have the entire Companions of the Hall and also have a healer present? That is a fantastic point. I'm just gonna make a note here because we were already talking about needing to add more healers, and then Chris needs that feedback too because. Presumably, the tanking and healing update makes both tanking and healing matter more, in which case the Companions of the Hall have neither. So, yeah. All right, Carvin86. Does focus on the core affect Dritz and Azaka? No, because I can't remember if that's just a blessing in the campaign or a global blessing. But the core champions refers to the 12 base unlocks. So Hitch, Dritz, and Azaka are not included. Belden. Do you plan to move event champions into Evergreen a champion roster at some point? Because if you continue to add more heroes with years, you will reach a number of champions quite large. I don't believe that's the plan. I think what's much more likely to happen is that there will be additional ways for you to get access to these characters outside of their events. I'm not confirming that we're developing another one right now because I don't think we are, but that's something that we'll be keeping in mind. Let's see. Ray Cool. What is the Bright Sword's layout supposed to be, aside from annoying to work with, I mean? Hashtag blame Chris. Hellish Dream, will a psionic character ever appear in the game, or are you waiting until the psionic class is released for 5e? That's a very good question. I'm not going to say one isn't going to be added to the game, because it could totally happen. I can't, for the life of me, off the top of my head, think of a lore-based one that is relevant that we should add. But it seems to me that Mike Merle's Happy Fun Hour has included psion or psionic-related classes and subclasses quite frequently since he started. So I'm pretty sure that's on their mind. I don't know when they're planning to do something related to it, but yeah, should be coming. Anyways, we need to wrap up our show. Mm-hmm. So thanks to Kat for joining us and talking about Wolfgar and design and drawing a pretty badass picture of Dritz, given the amount of time that you had. And thank you all for joining us. And thanks for supporting us and supporting the game, playing D&D, being awesome, playing video games. Like, all things are good. I'm going to go through I have a list of thank yous because I don't always remember everybody at the end, and it bugs me when I don't. So I'm just going to go through my like sort of generic outro. That is our show for Thursday, September 20th, 2018. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks to John, Greg, Bart, Pelham, and Lynn at Wizards of the Coast for giving us time on the official D&D Twitch to talk about our two favorite topics, D&D and video games and art. A huge thank also to my co-producer Erica, who helps put all this together, and to Kat for taking the time from drawing upcoming content to join me on stream today. We have Waffle Talk coming up next at 4, followed by Trapped in the Birdcage at 5, and of course Critical Role at 7. So have a wonderful weekend, everybody, and thank you for watching.